Hello, my name is Scott Cheatham. I have the opportunity to give an oral response to Zachary Stephenson's paper on Karl Barth. His thesis statement is that Karl Barth's neo-orthodoxy is a viable option for an enhanced evangelical theology. That's a tongue twister in itself, but an interesting topic nonetheless. When I had the opportunity or got chosen to read his paper after doing the discussion boards and reading and seeing everyone's thesis, I was interested in reading this paper, so I'm glad I got chosen to do the oral response to this. I don't know much about this topic, had not really studied it before, and so that's why I was intrigued about the opportunity to read it. This thesis itself, I thought Zachary did a good job of explaining some terms, explaining the viability of Karl Barth's neo-orthodoxy. There was a couple things that I thought he did really well. I thought it was very scholarly written. I thought he did a fantastic job writing the paper. The language that he used, it was just a very scholarly written paper. I thought his Turabian formatting was well done. I am no Turabian Nazi by any means, but I did think that he did a good job overall with his Turabian formatting. The couple things that I would have liked to seen a little bit different possibly in the paper is right out the gate he gives a quote kind of explaining the paper itself. But I wish that there would have been some more definitions. Neo-orthodoxy was not really defined at all at the beginning. Possibly if Zachary would have taken a few moments in his paper, a few sentences in his paper just to give it was 8,000 pages, and so forth, probably would have, but just understanding the definition of neo-orthodoxy and understanding really what Karl Barth believed may have set the paper up a little bit better. I thought you did a fantastic job of giving a definition of evangelicalism. I thought that was well done. The idea that it's on page 2, the idea that it's not a denomination, but that it's a set of beliefs and those 4 principles that evangelicalism is kind of based on. I thought you did a good job of presenting that argument. I just wish before that you may have explained or defined neo-orthodoxy a little bit better and given Karl Barth, what he was kind of standing on. I thought that the definition of viable was good to an understanding of what you were writing about. That Karl Barth's belief system is not something that is something that everyone should hold to, but there's some viable information in his opinions that could suit us well to enhance our evangelical theology. And so I thought that was really well done, that you defined what viable meant. That is something useful to us, that we could use Barth's neo-orthodoxy to enhance our evangelical theology. I thought that was well done too. I would have liked to again seen some more definitions possibly of like natural theology. What does that really mean? Again, your paper is very well written. It was kind of hard at times to follow. Some definitions were being thrown around, or words were being thrown around without some definitions, and so had to go back and see exactly what was being said. I thought on page 5 when you said man cannot rationalize God was kind of a summary statement of what Karl Barth believed, that God could not solely be rationalized, and that there was some experiential things in Christianity that that just couldn't be rationalized by the finite mind. And so I appreciated that kind of summary statement in page 5. But I started to kind of through the course of the paper, I read it several times, but we see that Barth, in your paper, that Barth agreed that Scripture could be used as a source of theology, and that Scripture was something that needed to be stand on, but that he believed that Scripture was riddled with errors. And so, for me, it was hard to really take what he had to say because of his view of the inerrancy of Scripture. And so I appreciated that, that you back and forth about the idea of what his view in Scripture was and what other people's view of Scripture is, and how he clearly didn't see Scripture as completely inerrant, but also used Scripture to as a basis for theology, which I thought was an interesting dynamic. On page 8, again, we see this idea of the authority of Scripture. Does he believe or does he not believe? How does he base his theology off of not believing that the Bible is inerrant? On one little Turabian issue I saw was also on page 8, maybe some spacing issues on your citations at the bottom. Seemed like you left a little bit of page there. Again, this idea of this liberal definition of Barth, and that MacArthur kind of tags Barth with. Most of the systematic theology books that I've read have tagged Barth as the liberal opinion on most issues, and so I would have maybe liked to see where you reference some of the systematic theologians that we use in our studies today. Again, most books have an opinion of him as a liberal. On page 11, we see that you really kind of dig in and explain his views, and so I wish maybe you'd have done that a little bit sooner so that it would have been a little easier to follow. Hey, Barth believes this. This is what typical evangelicals believe, and this is the differing opinions. But again, overall, I thought you did a fantastic job with your paper. One of the things that I did think that your paper was also lacking was there was absolutely zero scriptural references, and so maybe would have liked to see what the Word says about the Word referenced. I know it's difficult when you're talking about a man's theology and trying to describe that through other people's opinions of that man, but I would have, even so, maybe you've seen some scriptural references. I don't know exactly how they'd have fit in, but would have maybe liked to have seen that. But I believe that your paper, you did a really good job again writing it. It was pretty easy to follow. Only thing that I thought it lacked was maybe some clearer definitions of some terms, clearer definition of neo-orthodoxy from the beginning, and maybe a clearer definition of what Karl Barth believed in the beginning, which maybe would have set your paper up a little bit better. But I thought you did a fantastic job pointing to the case and explaining that with the word viable being something useful, not something that's necessary, but something useful that we as evangelicals can use to enhance our evangelical theology. And so I thought you painted the case that we can read other people's theology, whether we agree or disagree with it, to enhance our evangelical theology. So I appreciate that about your paper. Again, I thought Zachary did a very good scholarly job writing his paper. It was well written, well done. The Turabian was done well, and I enjoyed reading your paper. I learned quite a bit about neo-orthodoxy that I did not know, and again saw the value in studying Karl Barth's theology to enhance my evangelical theology. So thank you, well done. I would have given this paper a low A because I think it was well written. I think that it was well done. A little difficult at times to follow, but I thought that he did a really good job overall with his paper, and so I would have given him a low A. So again, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to read your paper. Look forward to hearing others' responses.